ECAP stands for Emergency Commodity Assistance Program.
And that's something that, as part of the $10 billion that Congress appropriated toward the end of last year, and that's being distributed, and farmers need to know how to claim their share. How do we start out with this?
Joan, do you want to answer that one?
Sure.
The application process?
Sure. For the application process, our producers can apply in a number of different ways. They can complete an application. They can apply by visiting the county office, come in and just ask and inquire at the county office, and we can print an application for them there. They can apply by mail. They can apply electronically. They can send an application via fax or email. They can also use Box or OneSpan. We have that capability to where they could just simply send their signature through the application process that way to the county office. And there's also an online application that producers can use, farmers.gov application that they're able to apply online as well.
Farmers.gov. Okay. Do we have to put the FSA in front of that?
We have to put FSA.USDA.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So that's how they apply. Now, I've heard some references to farmers already receiving a filled-in application.
That was the plan, was to mail applications. Right now, those applications are on hold, and we're asking producers to go ahead and come into the office and sign up, give us a call, let us know if we can mail that to you directly from our software system.
So the farmers will not be automatically getting anything. They have to be proactive in going through the process that you just described.
Like Jean mentioned, the intention was to, and may still be, to get an application in the mail to eligible producers. Now right now they're still in process of working that out. So we would encourage producers to not wait for the application to be mailed to them and to visit the county office or apply or inquire in one of these other manners. The producers that receive an application or that already are in our system, it's based off their 2024 data that they've already reported to FSA. So when they apply, the application will already contain the data that they reported to FSA for 2024 eligible commodities.
So if they turned in acreage from last year, if they reported their acreage, the data is there, but they still need to incorporate that data into an application.
The data is in the application. We would just have to generate it for them, and then they would just sign the application. It's one application per producer nationwide for all their shares of an eligible commodity.
Okay. Now, in Illinois, we could talk about corn and soybeans and wheat. You know, there may be some others, but those folks may not. They may have to look at some other things. We're getting some substantial money, and it's not per bushel; it is per acre, as I understand.
Correct.
Okay, and so farmers can multiply their acreage by those dollars, and they'll think they may be getting X amount. But they're not going to be getting X amount when that check comes in.
Correct. This first payment is going to be 85%. So the additional funds would not be paid out until all the program deadline has passed. They want to make sure they have enough funds to get this first payment out. So they will be receiving 85% of the payment.
So if they had 100 acres of corn, and corn has a $42.91 payment, they would not be getting $4,200 in an initial check. It would be 85% of that.
Correct.
All right. Do we know when an additional 15% would be coming, or will it come?
We anticipate that we have to get past the program deadline of August 15th. At that time, they'll reassess funds. If there are still funds remaining, then we anticipate payments being made at that time. We don't know if it would be the final 15%, but whatever amount of payment the factor would be at that time would be determined.
Okay. And so a farmer can look at, he or she can work through a calculator, I think, that you've got online. Is that correct, to figure out what they might expect?
That is correct. There is an ECAP producer-facing website, and there's a calculator tool on there where they can go in and actually plug in their acreage and have an idea of what their payment would be.
Okay, and remind me what that producer-facing website is. I was thinking that I had seen it was fsa.usda.gov, and when I clicked on that, there were the ECAP was the primary thing that was there,
fsa.usda.gov/ECAP
right?
should be where it's located.
Okay, and at that point, if fsa.usda.gov/ECAP, as we repeat this, at that point, there's a whole lot of choices for things. And one of those is a calculator, so you can calculate the 4291 times so many acres and the soybean payment of well,
2976.
there we go, 2976, but times acres and wheat if they have any of 3069, and then total all of that up, and they could get maybe an estimated payment. Now, is that going to be the 85%, or is that going to be the 100%? Do we know?
I have not actually gone in and tested the calculator to see if it does provide that 85%. I would guess it would provide the entire amount, but then it may also show the 85% program factor, but I'm just not certain. Payment factor.
Okay. There's, I think, and also a choice on there for frequently asked questions, and that's probably a good idea. As have you ladies had questions coming in already about this program?
We have.
We have.
What-
Mostly, when is the check coming? And I can tell you the checks are going out. We're excited, Stu. We just looked at the numbers before we came in here to visit with you, and Illinois has already paid out $25.5 million in just a few short days.
And this started just on the 19th
It
of
did.
March.
We're actually number 3. There's a couple of other states ahead of us, but we're pretty excited that much money's gone out to our producers already.
Okay, so frequently asked question is, when's my money coming? And some may have already an answer to that. And now, is this coming in a check in the mailbox, or is this going to a direct deposit in a bank account?
That depends on what our producers are signed up for. Most of our producers use the direct deposit, but some of them that still receive checks. But the majority of our producers do direct deposit,
Okay, so
which is strongly encouraged.
right. Okay, so at that point, producers may already see it. Are there any other frequently asked questions that are coming into this office about about this program and how it works and what do they have to do?
I think the prevented planet was a question based on the spring that we had in 2024. Do you want to explain the prevented planet payment?
Sure, for eligible acreage for this program, prevented plant acres are eligible for an eligible commodity. However, they pay at 50% of the rate that a planted commodity does.
So if you did have prevent plant last year, you can get 50% of what that was. If you didn't get to plant corn, you would get 50% of that corn payment then.
That's correct. If you have an approved prevent plant claim, which is a process that you would have either already completed in the county office, or you can come in and apply for that late file for this program only.
Okay. How about double cropping?
In an approved double cropping county for approved double crop, both commodities, if they're both eligible commodities, both are eligible.
So if we're double cropping wheat and beans, and that's, are there any non-eligible counties in Illinois for double cropping? I'm not aware of any, but I don't know. I'm not an FSA staffer, I don't know. But if you've got a wheat and soybean double crop, you would be essentially eligible for a double payment in this case, or a payment for each one of those commodities.
A payment for each commodity, correct.
Okay.
If you're in a double cropped approved county
A
for those
double crop?
commodities, correct.
All right, Joan puts in that asterisk in there. we need to make sure that we get that in. What now? I've got some rented land. I cash rent land. Is this money going to come to me? Is this going to come to the landowner? What's the distribution on this cash?
It,
Go ahead.
it's the producer that had the input cost, so the producer that had the risk in the crop. So it would go to in your example, it would go to the operator that's cash renting the ground.
Okay. The landowners, and he has input of paying taxes or something like that. Well, that's not qualified then.
For a cash rent situation, it's typically going to go however you certified your shares in 2024. So when we talked about how that data is automatically pulled in, when that producer came in and visited FSA in 2024 and reported their acreage, this program application will pull that data in based on the shares that were provided by the operator at the time in 2024. So whatever those were as they were reported to us is what we'll pull through on the application. Now, if there needs to be a change, we can still look at making changes if an application doesn't appear to be correct. However, that's the data that will automatically pull that's already been reported.
Okay. And if I don't remember what I had, but if I had a 50-50 crop share lease, money goes to both parties?
Correct.
Okay. If I had a lease that was a flexible lease, that I paid so much rent and the operator or the owner got a little bit of a boost on something, am I getting all of it then? Or what do we know about that, if we know?
It would go by how the producer reported to FSA again. So if the producer reported cash rent based off of that variable lease, then the producer would receive 100% of
Okay.
the ECAP eligible commodity payment.
Okay, so that seems fairly clear, and I think most people would probably remember what they reported. They probably reported what they had for several years, and at that case, why then they should know if they've got to share it with an owner, or if they split it with the owner. Okay.
Something to keep in mind to your point is that with one application per producer nationwide, the program will factor in and do that math for all of your shares for an eligible commodity. So if you cash rent some ground and you share rent some ground, the eligible acres will be determined by that math ratio already. So the acreage may look different or off a little bit, but if we should be able to help you research, or the farmers can research themselves to determine their shares already calculated on that application. So when it comes down to eligible acres, that math's already been done by the program behind the scenes.
Okay, so if somebody is farming over in Vermilion County, Illinois, and also has some acreage over Attica, Indiana, USDA already knows about that and has everything already totaled up.
Correct, and the producer would want to visit their recording county, and they would be the county responsible for approving that application. Now, we have nationwide customer service, so that producer can visit their local or any county office, but the approval authority for that application is going to lie with the recording county office, which the producer will know where their recording county office is, but that is who will be the approval office for the application, but they can visit any office.
Okay. If I've got some land that I've had that's been had some soil issues, a conservation land, and I've got it in cover crops, how is the program treating some fields that have been in just cover crop for really for conservation purposes and may eventually be farmed at some time or another? Does it address anything for cover crops in there?
I don't believe that cover crops are a covered commodity.
Right.
It's not an eligible commodity.
Okay, they're not going to be paid anything for a cover crop.
Correct.
No, that's.
Right.
But I didn't know if that kicks somebody out of a program or adjusts them in some other way or not.
This particular program is intended to help with economic loss. So that's when we're looking at basically what we would call a reported planted commodity, an eligible commodity.
Okay. Have you encountered any other questions or information from Washington that says, oh, beware, here's an issue that we need to make sure that we get out to the farmers?
We have not, what we have heard, the feedback we've heard and what we've seen, our county offices are very, very busy, but the program application seems to be going very smooth from everything that we hear. It was designed that way to pull that data in, and so far from what we've heard, it's working as intended. So that's great. There's multiple ways for a producer to apply. So I think overall, right out of the gate, as we just got started, it's the results are good.
Okay. So your recommendation probably would be start with, at home on your computer, making an application. If you haven't gotten anything from FSA and you need to make an application, whether that's reporting last year's acreage or whatever it might be, but start with your computer as opposed to going into your local FSA office.
I think
Yeah.
that's preference, that's preference. I think you can make a phone call to the FSA county office and we can facilitate getting that application right to you as well. So, we mentioned an emailed application or faxed even, something like that. We have multiple methods for that application to get to the producer and back to us signed. So it would just really be a personal preference.
Okay.
And right now, our offices are very busy with our PLC sign up, with the deadline is April 15th. And from what we hear, as producers are coming in, they are wanting to take care of all the business they can while they're in the office. So I know our offices have been very accommodating to our producers, that once they've come in to sign up for our PLC, they're taking care of ECAP while they're in there.
Okay. Are we fairly well staffed at this point? Do you have more, you have enough people who are in the office to take care of the business end?
We do. Illinois is in great shape. We are doing well, and where there might be some issues, we have other offices covering for other people. So it's one big team effort out there. So we are in very good shape in Illinois.
All right, I know Illinois had not, last I heard, had not lost any offices in the cutbacks in Washington. There were not many. There was Iowa and Illinois, and I know those hadn't been lost. Other states had been losing some offices, but I knew Illinois, the last I saw, Illinois was still, all the offices were open. So
It's business as usual here in Illinois.
what have I not asked that's important to this that farmers need to know, that you would like them to know?
I have one thing I wanted to mention. ECAP has a payment limitation of $125,000. However, ECAP has a two-tiered payment limitation option that a producer can optionally complete a form, and can indicate that their average gross income, if derived from farming, ranching, and forestry, it makes up 75% of their average gross income, then they are eligible for an additional $125,000, making it $250,000 payment limitation. And that is something that we have received many questions on. So that is strictly optional. It's not required. We can process an application, and the producer will need to take out that certification for that extra payment limitation increase and have that completed by a licensed CPA, lawyer, or an enrolled agent, and then return it to the office. But we won't hold up the initial application processing while we're waiting on that additional, should they choose to optionally complete that form.
Okay, let me get a repeat on that qualification. You could get a double payment, such as a payment for a producer and a spouse, but if the farm income was what percent of their total home income?
So it's per producer. It's just per producer, but the payment will cap out at $125,000 for a payment limitation per producer. Now, if there's an optional additional bump in payment limitation to increase it to $250,000, if the producer meets the criteria that 75% of their gross income, average gross income, is from farming, ranching, and forestry. If 75% of their overall income is from farming, ranching, and forestry, then they can complete this additional form and return it to the office, which allows them to have that additional bump in payment limitation to $250,000.
Okay, I think that's, should be pretty clear, and be interesting to see how many, that'll be an interesting set of data to figure out how many qualify for that and how that, if there's a lot, that could make that 85% an important figure at the end of the day. Anything else that we need to tell farmers that you would like to convey to them?
No, just come in and get signed up and sign up for all your programs while you're in the office. We're so excited to be able to get this rolled out. It's good to have a new program. It's good to have one as streamlined as this to get this out to our producers. So I can tell you, even though our offices are busy, they're thankful for the work, and they're thankful that they get to serve our producers in this way, getting this rolled out.
Great. We really appreciate the time that we received from Gene French, who's Acting State Director for the FSA here in Illinois, and for Joan Hammann, who is a program specialist who certainly knows the program. I'm Stu Ellis.